Good evening, friends, and welcome to the teleconferencing session of the School of Agriculture. Today, we have scheduled 3 teleconferencing sessions, and in the first session, we are taking the fruit and diploma in fruits and vegetable. Under this, we will be taking the course 2, that is principles of the post-harvest storage. In this, we have invited Dr. R.K. Paul, who is professor in Division of Post-Harvest Technology, IRI. He will be talking about the storage under the controlled and modified atmosphere storage of the fruits and vegetables. Dr. Paul has very rich experience in this area. He is a product of IRI, MSc in horticulture, PhD in post-harvest, and then after selection as ARS, he is working as scientist, and now he is principal scientist in Division of Post-Harvest Technology. He is postdoctorate from USA, and he was also a FO fellow in Netherlands. He has guided more than 13 students, and he has done very practical work on the controlled and modified atmosphere storage of fruits and vegetables, which is becoming an important necessity in the change scenario of fruit and vegetable growth which is taking place. The Ministry of Food Processing Industry has undertaken new schemes wherein lot of scope is there for entrepreneurs to go for this type of storage. So I will request Dr. Paul to tell the students about this topic, controlled and modified atmosphere storage of fruits and vegetables. Dr. Paul, please.
Thank you, Professor Saluja. It's indeed a great pleasure in talking to you and in the countrywide classroom on the topic storage of fruits and vegetables with specific reference to controlled and the modified atmospheric storage. Now, if you look at the Indian scenario of horticulture, the horticultural sector occupies around 8.5% of the arable land, and it provides a dynamic tool for enhancing economic returns, attaining nutritional security, creating employment avenues, and ensuring ecological sustainability. Horticultural sector covers a broad spectrum of activities like production and post-harvest management and value addition. If you look at the Indian scenario again, the horticultural production is in India, it is 185.2 million metric tons, out of which fruits constitute 109 million metric tons, vegetable contributes 58.7 million metric tons, and 10% of the share of the global production of fruits and vegetables. In spite of that, our processing, it accounts for only 1.8%, and our stake in the export trade is a very meager of 0.4%. Another very alarming situation we observe, the annual post-harvest losses of fruits and vegetables in India ranges from 30 to 35%, which is worth equivalent to 1/4 of the annual defense budget of Government of India. So due to unavailability of adequate cold chain facilities, severe disparity between total production and net per capita availability exists. My dear friends, cost per unit area of loss reduction is much cheaper than the equivalent unit of production to increase the per capita net availability. This is one of the very most important point which should be remembered, and now in order to do that, there is a need for storage of fruits and vegetables. Why? This is because it extends the period of availability, it helps in orderly marketing, it is an effective tool for price stabilization, it checks the spoilage of the fruits and vegetables after harvest, it helps in distribution to places of scarcity. Now let us know and understand the characteristics of the fresh produce. Fruits and vegetables after harvest, as many of you know, that it is alive. It bathes, it releases heat, it loses moisture, it can get sick, and even it can die. It's very hard to believe all these facts, but this is a fact. Now horticultural crops there are typical characteristics being living tissue, having very high water content and subject to pathological breakdown because of their diverse morphology, composition and physiology. Now, objectives of today's lecture is to understand the basic principles of controlled atmosphere storage system, physiological effects of controlled or like modified atmosphere storage on fruits and vegetables, methods of atmospheric modification, commercial feasibility of controlled or modified atmospheric technology. Now let us go into the historical background of the controlled atmosphere storage. Now, effect of gas storage on harvested fruits is known since ancient times. Fruits were taken to temples for improving ripening. Volatile released on burning of incense containing hydrocarbon gases that help ripening of fruits. Way back in 1819, J.E. Bernard in France, he noticed that the harvested fruits absorb oxygen and liberate carbon dioxide. An atmosphere devoid of oxygen caused no ripening in fruits like peach, prunes and apricot for several days. Now, in 1907, there was one scientist known as Fulton J. who observed that increase in the fruit damage by large accumulation of carbon dioxide in the storage atmosphere. Later in 1915, one gentleman, Dr. R.W. Thatcher, who concluded that the carbon dioxide greatly inhibited the ripening of apples. But the first scientific evidence on the effect of carbon dioxide on respiratory rates was established by the famous group of scientists like Kidd and West in the 1917, and they have observed in seeds. In 1927, these two gentlemen carried out the comprehensive studies on the effect of carbon dioxide and oxygen on storage of fruits and vegetables. In early 40s, the term gas storage was replaced by the term controlled atmosphere storage by these gentlemen. Now, the environmental factors which influence the deterioration of fruits and vegetables, let us examine. The first and the foremost important point is the temperature. Second is the relative humidity. Third importance is atmospheric compositions, and next is the ethylene composition in the store. Now, let us examine what is the difference between a controlled atmosphere and a modified atmosphere. Now, in order to know that, we should know what is a regular atmosphere. Like in this room, the regular atmosphere contains 21% oxygen and approximately 78.08% nitrogen and 0.03% carbon dioxide. Now, any deviation from this regular atmosphere is known as a modified atmosphere. Now, if this modified atmosphere is kept under strict control and maintenance, and such deviation is then termed as controlled atmosphere. Now, modified atmosphere can be created by using various polymeric films or membranes having differential permeability to carbon dioxide, oxygen and nitrogen and water vapor, and it can be used very well for extension of the post-harvest life and quality detention during handling, storage of fruits and vegetables and flowers. Now, let me remind you one thing, gentlemen, that controlled atmosphere storage is a supplementary practice to refrigeration. That means it is essentially a part of the refrigeration. Without refrigeration, controlled atmosphere cannot do. Controlled atmosphere contains reduced level of oxygen and elevated level of carbon dioxide. It retains the better quality attributes in many fruits and vegetables in terms of better color, better firmness, better flavor, and it checks the microbial attack. Now, let us examine what are the beneficial effects of a controlled atmosphere system. Now, first and the foremost important benefit we get, that is retardation of the senescence or the aging process. Like I told you, remember that fruits and vegetables are live. So if it is live, so it has to undergo a stage of the death. So death means senescence is just prior to the death. So retardation of the senescence is one of the most important benefit we get from the controlled atmosphere. Second thing is the reduction in the sensitivity to ethylene action. Ethylene is the most important culprit, particularly with the when you consider the extension of the storage life of fruits and vegetables. Now, alleviation of certain physiological disorders is also another important beneficial effect. We get it through controlled atmosphere. Now, direct or indirect effect of the post-harvest pathogens like carbon dioxide at 10 to 15% significantly could inhibit the development of the botrytis rot on strawberries, cherries and other perishables. So this is a very emerging area of controlling the pathogen, controlling the diseases, and sometimes the control of insects by use of certain carbon dioxide regime. Now, we must know certain harmful effects too in a controlled atmosphere storage of fruits and vegetables. These are the initiation or the aggravation of certain physiological disorders, like in sometimes chilling injuries also aggravated, because if you put it in a wrong atmosphere, wrong combination of carbon dioxide or wrong combination of the oxygen and carbon dioxide and nitrogen, it can aggravate certain other physiological disorders like internal browning and so forth. Irregular ripening of the fruits, particularly in banana, in tomato, it has been observed that oxygen concentration below 2% levels and the carbon dioxide concentration above 5% levels can cause severe problem in irregularity of the ripening of fruits like banana, like tomato, etc. The development of the off flavor and the off odor, particularly this is important in climacteric fruits, those fruits which needs ripening after the harvest. So those fruits, development of the off flavor or the off odor is most of the important factor. Increased susceptibility to decay. Again, if you are putting in the wrong atmosphere, instead of doing it good, it will do harm. Now let us examine the mechanism. How does it work? Now, exposure to fresh horticultural crops to low oxygen and elevated carbon dioxide atmospheres within the range tolerated by each commodity reduces their respiration rate and the ethylene production rates. Now, if you can have a control of these two major parameters like respiratory rates and the ethylene production rates, then you can have a real successful post-harvest management in extending the marketability or the storage life of fruits and vegetables. However, outside this range, the respiration and the ethylene production rates can be stimulated by indicating a stress response, just like a mechanical stress. I can give an example. Like we observed in University of Arkansas when I worked with the cadets, when you expose this thing at the high carbon dioxide concentration, it acts like a mechanical shock. Like any mechanical or the physical injury leads to increase in the respiration rate. Similarly, the carbon dioxide, high carbon dioxide exposure can also lead to a respiratory shock and give a stress response. Now, how this controlled atmosphere can be created or the generated? In Pusa Institute, very recently, we have developed an experimental controlled atmosphere generation system through different premix gases through the buffer tanks and the temperature control device. Now, methods of generation of controlled atmosphere system in a commercial application. Now, in most of the commercial application, nitrogen is generated from the atmosphere using membrane or PSA system. PSA means pressure swing absorption system. This is one of the most recognized and most important component of the controlled atmospheric generation system. Now, oxygen in the storage atmosphere is reduced by flushing with the nitrogen. Now, if the storage atmosphere is airtight, if it is flushed by the nitrogen, so naturally the oxygen level inside the room will go down slowly. Okay, then carbon dioxide is generated through through commodity respiration. The levels of carbon dioxide is maintained by use of scrubber. There are various types of scrubbers are there, but most commonly commercially used scrubber is the activated carbon scrubber, which is of very importance, particularly in a commercial system of CS storage. Now the level of carbon dioxide or level of oxygen is maintained by nitrogen flushing or flushing through the air. Like, if the oxygen concentration goes below a certain limit, then what you do, you flush with the air so that oxygen concentration inside the chamber goes on increasing. And all these controls are very precisely controlled in a commercial system using very precise solenoid valves. Now in package also you can create a control of the modified atmospheric system. As I told you earlier, that modified atmosphere, any deviation from the regular atmosphere is a modified atmosphere. Suppose you take certain fruits and vegetables. We know that fruits and vegetables respire, and these fruits and vegetables are packed in certain selectively permeable polyethylene film bags. And tie it. What will happen inside? Inside the level of carbon dioxide will go up and the level of oxygen will go down. It will create a modified atmospheric system, and this kind of system is known as a passive modified atmospheric system using selectively permeable polyethylene film. Similarly, we can have active modified atmospheric system too. In that system, what we can do, we can premix the gases like carbon dioxide, oxygen and nitrogen at a desired proportion in a package, and then apply the vacuum to evacuate the air and flush the premixed gas to create an active modification of the atmosphere. So this is very fast, but passive modification is very slow. Now we have to select a particular film for creating a active or a passive modification system. Now in the market, there are three primary different types of polyethylene films available. They are known as LDPE, means low density polyethylene film, then HDPE means high density polyethylene film, and OPP means oriented polypropylene. Now each type of film has a typical characteristics of permeability to oxygen and carbon dioxide, which is measured normally at 25 degrees centigrade. You can see there that LDPE, that low density polyethylene, has got the highest permeability to carbon dioxide, whereas OPP has got the least permeability to carbon dioxide. So you can see that if a particular crop which is intolerant to carbon dioxide, then definitely you have to use a film like LDPE for its creation of modified atmosphere. But if a crop which is very much tolerant to carbon dioxide, then the permeability will be very low for the carbon dioxide in case of OPP. So you can select OPP film to create the modified atmospheric packaging system. Now tolerance limit of fruits and vegetables to low oxygen, it depends on the different types of the variety, even cultivar, even the growing locations. Now I have classified this minimum level of oxygen requirement to the various fruits and vegetables. Like the fruits of certain cultivars of apples, pears and broccoli and mushroom, garlic and onion, they can tolerate a minimum level up to 1% of oxygen, whereas most of the cultivars of the apples in general, pears, kiwi fruit, apricot, cherry, nectarine, peach, plum, strawberry, papaya, pineapple, olive, cantaloupe, green beans, there are few more in the list. They can tolerate a minimum oxygen level of only 2%, whereas avocado, persimmon, tomato, pepper, cucumber and artichoke, they can tolerate a minimum level of 3%. And 5% level minimum in case of citrus, green pea, asparagus, potato, sweet potato. These are the crops. Now importance of this is very important to be kept in mind, particularly while designing or while selecting a particular film for creation of a modified atmospheric system. If you select a film which which has a very low oxygen permeability, and the oxygen concentration goes down by respiratory consumption of oxygen to below 1%, there will be definitely a disastrous effect on this type of film. Now you have to be very careful in selecting a particular film which can tolerate a minimum level of the oxygen. Similarly, we must know the carbon dioxide toleration limit. Normally in most of the fruits and vegetables in general 5% is the limit. Now if the carbon dioxide concentration goes above 5%, normally there lies certain problem of carbon dioxide shock, just like a mechanical injury I have already explained earlier. Now 2% carbon dioxide is the maximum limit in case of crops like apples, some of the pears, apricot, grape, olive and cabbage, sweet potato, like this. But 5% in majority of the cultivars of the apples can withstand maximum level of carbon dioxide up to 5%. Then plum, orange, avocado, banana, mango, etc. There are some things, but I will come to the later in the crop specific response to the controlled atmosphere on different levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now based on this, in the commerce there are different types of controlled atmosphere system. Now first, one of the most ultra modern system, and which is not still available in India, particularly it is very much available in Netherlands and other European countries, that is ULO system, that is known as ultra low oxygen system, where in the storage atmosphere oxygen concentration can be brought down to 1%. It is very difficult, but it can be achieved using ULO system. Then there are other systems like low ethylene controlled atmosphere system, where the ethylene concentration inside the controlled atmosphere storage is less than 1 microliter per liter. Then sequential CS storage, this is one of the recent and the modern area of the research. Like you keep the produce at 1% oxygen level for 2 to 6 weeks, then 2 to 3% raise the oxygen level to 2 to 3% for the remainder period. Now we have found a very interesting experience in case of guava, particularly using the sequential CS system in our laboratory. Now there are some of the most important aspects of the quality assurance of fruits and vegetables for controlled atmosphere storage. My dear friends, you should always remember that controlled atmosphere is not the total solution. In order to have a holistic management of post-harvest aspects of fruits and vegetables, you have to do the things right from the selection of the crop, varieties and the species, then selection of the appropriate post-harvest management protocols like spray schedule, like which spray, either it is a mineral or it is a fungicide or insecticide or anything, appropriate spray schedule has to be followed for a good crop. Tree age is also very important, because with the aging, quality of the fruits normally deteriorates. Then canopy management, crop regulation, like in most of the crops, like in apples, the phenomenon, there is a alternate bearing phenomenon. One year there is a heavy crop, another year there is a lean crop. So naturally you have to use certain crop regulation measurement so that you can get a uniform good quality material for storage for future marketing. Then another very important thing one has to understand, the harvesting. Now maturity indices is one of the very important factor which regulates the quality of the fruits, whether you store it in low temperature storage or controlled atmosphere storage or on farm storage, anywhere. Harvesting at the proper maturity is very important. If you harvest at an immature stage, definitely it will spoil very fast. If you harvest at the over mature stage, it will ripe very fast. So naturally its quality will not be so good. So you have to decide the optimum maturity index of a particular crop, depending, so that it can stay long, it can retain its quality for longer time during marketing, during consumption and during retailing. Now post-harvest handling and packaging prior to storage also plays a very significant role in the quality assurance of the controlled atmosphere stored material. Now this is very important. Now precise control atmosphere storage conditions, as I told you, you have to take care of the appropriate or the minimum requirement of the carbon dioxide and the maximum oxygen tolerance level, and all kind of things you have to consider before you put the things in the controlled atmosphere. Now post removal care for marketing is also very important, because controlled atmosphere storage are meant for a long term storage. Now we have conducted certain experiments in our laboratory. It clearly shows that if you give a short term treatment with the controlled atmosphere, like elevated level of carbon dioxide and reduced level of oxygen, to mango, a very popular variety, first variety comes in the North Indian market, that is known as Banesian, sometimes known as Banganapalli. This variety, you can see that very much delayed in the ripening process by CA treatment. Now once the ripening is delayed, definitely senescence will be delayed, definitely its life will be enhanced. But I tell you, my dear, the controlled atmosphere is not a highly successful in case of mango due to certain various reasons that I will discuss later on. Now estimated storage life of fruits and vegetables in controlled atmospheric condition. Now I tell you, one of the most important crop throughout the world which is stored commercially in controlled atmosphere is apple, and next to apple is the pears. But you can store, if you know that what is the duration of the fruits you want to store it in a CA condition, then you have to decide the type of the crop. Now if it is more than 12 months, then you have crops like cashew nut, almonds, dried fruits and vegetables that stay much better in controlled atmospheric condition. If your target is to store for 6 to 12 months, then apples and pears are the best option. If your target is to store for 3 to 6 months, then cabbage, kiwi, pomegranate are ideal. 1 to 3 months, grapes, cherry, plum, peach. Less than 1 month are this mango, asparagus, strawberry and this. Now my dear friend, in any commercial venture, if you want to, because controlled atmosphere storage establishment is very expensive as compared to the low temperature storage. Now if in order to get the economic benefit, the product should stay at least 3 months, minimum 3 months of life in a controlled atmosphere, then only it becomes profitable. Otherwise, it becomes not very much economically viable. That is the reason I told you the mango, even though there is a delay in the ripening, delay in the senescence, but it may not be commercially so much of viable. Next, I will show you this is one of the very finest facility of the commercial storage of fruits and vegetables. It has been recently, you can see that it was inaugurated in 14th October 2007, and it is at Sonipat in Haryana. It has 12,000 metric ton capacity of the ultra modern CA system. Now they are mainly concentrating on storage of apples, and we are proud to say that such facilities are also coming in India. There is another company known as Adani AgriFresh Limited. They have constructed CA chambers, controlled atmosphere chambers at 4 locations in Himachal Pradesh with a total capacity of 16,000 metric tons, and they are also mostly storing the apples and some quantity of the pears, because these two are the crops which are proven that it is very much beneficial from the point of view of storage quality. Now to sum up, I will tell you some of the very important things which must be remembered before you venture in a controlled atmospheric storage system. Now we know that what is a normal atmosphere. It is 78.08% nitrogen, 20.98% oxygen and 0.03% carbon dioxide. It is called a normal atmosphere. Now as I already explained to you that if you create any deviation from this normal atmosphere, it is known as modified atmosphere, and this deviation Could be elevated level of carbon dioxide, could be reduced level of oxygen, could be elevated level of nitrogen, or any other combination. Like in the market you may see there are various dried products like potato chips, like many other things, pillow pack, these are gas flask pack. This is also one of the modified atmospheric packaging. What they do it, they put the nitrogen flashing. Nitrogen is very much, is an inert gas, it checks the rancidity of the dried chips, potato chips. So that's why it's a modified atmospheric packaging. So it's a deviation from the normal atmosphere packaging. Now when this deviation of this normal atmosphere is precisely kept under the control, then this term known as the controlled atmosphere. So now my dear friends, I think it is very clear to you at this moment the difference between a modified atmosphere and the controlled atmosphere. That means I can say in one line that all the controlled atmospheres are essentially the modified atmospheres, but all the modified atmospheres are not essentially the controlled atmosphere. So in order to get the make the benefit of the controlled atmosphere, you have to have either selectively permeable films, or you have to have the pre-mixed gases to create a modified atmospheric or the controlled atmospheric condition. Now when this atmospheric modification is done in a package, then it is known as a modified atmospheric packaging. When this atmospheric modification done in a storage, then it is known as modified atmospheric storage. When this modification is done in kept under the precise control in a package, then it is known as controlled atmospheric packaging, CAP, or the CA. When it is done in storage, there is CA storage. Now nowadays there are a lot of companies with the recent advancement in the FMCG or in the retail marketing. Lot of companies are coming out with the different types of the films available, which can exactly regulate the carbon dioxide and the oxygen barrier. Right, there are different types of films like which can, after a certain level of carbon dioxide, it goes away. Right. So similarly, there are some oxygen scavenging packaging, like you can reduce the oxygen level through using certain scavengers that are kept in the pouches. So those are controlled atmospheric packaging system of recent in our country, but it has been in use in abroad for many years. Now, one very important thing I would like to emphasize over here. Now each and every crop, you should not put it in the CA system. Now then how do you judge? What is the essentiality of the CA technology? How do you justify that? First and the foremost important, that the commodities having high market value only should be kept in the CA storage, because then only you will get the economic benefit or the economic return. Second thing is that it should significantly enhance the storage life, and it should retain significantly better quality vis-a-vis the low temperature storage. Now it should fetch a better price compared to the conventional cool store produce. Then only we should go for the controlled atmosphere storage of a particular commodity. Otherwise, I don't think there is any demand. Like say, for example, you have a lot of potatoes. Now potatoes are sold at sometimes 2 rupees a kilo. You said that okay, you have a technology of controlled atmosphere storage, should we put it? I said no. Why? Because that will not give the return of your investment. So that is one of the major concern. Like when you develop a controlled atmosphere storage, it should give the return. But whereas in case of say apples, you get definitely good return of investment at the time of harvesting of apples. So it is, the apple season is coming, that is in say August, September. So that apples are sold about say 20 rupees a kilo, and if you go in the field you can get even 15 rupees or 10 rupees a kilo even. Now you get finest quality apples, you store it for 6 months, you get about 60 to 70 rupees a kilo. So you can say how much price realization, how much return of investment you get it with a high value crop. Similar cases with the pears. Like in case of strawberries, although there is a very short term requirement of the storage, but strawberry is also very much responsive to the modified atmospheric condition. Particularly in strawberry or in grapes, the one disease that is known as botrytis rot, which is very severe in case of strawberries. You harvest the strawberries, within 2 days it gets rotten. So that can be very easily managed by high carbon dioxide atmosphere, like particularly when you pack it in a high carbon dioxide atmosphere, that is modified atmospheric condition, strawberry can be kept free from this botrytis for about 10 to 15 days. Now again, very important thing, CA sometimes I can tell something in Hindi if you know that. Can I speak? Yes. Okay. So many times I say that control atmosphere is not a Madarika Danda. Jaise you put the anything and everything, put it in the control atmosphere storage, and you expect that the things would come out to be better. No. If anybody has got that concept, that is absolutely wrong. It is a supplementary practice to low temperature management. You have a low temperature storage, you can convert it into a controlled atmosphere storage by addition of various gadgets, or you can have a new installation of controlled atmosphere storage, because this is specifically important, particularly gas tightness and other things. Now the beneficial effects of the controlled atmosphere storages are: first one, the retardation of the senescence, then sensitivity to ethylene action. Now I tell you, ethylene action, if you take into consideration, is one of the most important factor which deteriorates the fruit. Like when a fruit ripens, you get lot of good aroma, good flavor. So this is primarily who does all kind of things. So ethylene has a autocatalytic action. Like if you put a ripe mango in a box of unripe mango, the unripe mango starts ripening. Why? It is because the ripe mango is liberating ethylene, and that ethylene triggers the ethylene production of the unripe mango. So naturally this is the autocatalysis which takes place in the case of ethylene, so which helps in ripening of the unripe mango in association with the ripe one. So if we can by any chance check the ethylene liberation, so definitely you can check the ripening. If you check the ripening, definitely you can check the senescence. If you check the senescence, definitely you can extend the life, you can extend the marketability for a longer period. So here, my dear, the controlled atmosphere or the modified atmosphere is coming in a very big way to check this ethylene action. Now physiological disorders. These are really problematic, particularly in India, because India is a place where we produce lot of tropical and subtropical fruits and vegetables. Tropical and subtropical fruits are very much prone to chilling injury. Chilling injury means, if they are subjected to temperature below the threshold requirement of the temperature, then what happens? It undergoes various erratic behavior on ripening. First, it shows the brown spots, pitting, and then it fails to ripen, it fails to develop the desirable quality. This is one of the very important challenge in India, particularly when we do the business with tropical and subtropical fruits. So here controlled atmosphere system, or using the carbon dioxide or the oxygen in an appropriate composition, we can definitely alleviate the chilling injury or the physiological systems, physiological disorders in many of these tropical and subtropical fruits. There are important effects on the post-harvest pathogen, and last but not the least, it is very useful tool for the insect control. Now we have already established the ICA, that is known as insecticidal controlled atmosphere technology. Now we had already, this is a very recent paper. If you see the Journal of Post-Harvest Biology and Technology, which is published from New Zealand, you can see a very recent article on controlled atmosphere storage of apple or guava, and we have used the insecticidal control atmosphere using around 40% carbon dioxide for very short term exposure for 12 hours. Now we can see the guava in the rainy season is really a problematic situation, because it contains lot of grubs, lot of maggots and insects. So now these are not visible when the fruits are in optimum mature condition. These are visible when the fruits are ripe. Now what we did, we exposed this infected fruits when there are eggs inside in a controlled atmosphere containing 40% carbon dioxide, and on ripening we saw that there is not a single insect hatched. So we concluded that controlled atmosphere can be ovicidal. That means it can kills all stages of fruits, all stages of the insects of which is affecting the fruit. So this coming a very, because insect control is normally done through fumigation. These fumigation material are very toxic, and nowadays there is a lot of concern, the health concern and PFA concern, even the regulatory measures are there. Now if there are some fumigation level, residues level, they are not being exported, there are some tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers for the export. So naturally this is an environmental friendly technology, particularly use of carbon dioxide in controlling the insects. So it can be very well used. Now the harmful effects of CA storage of fruits and vegetables must also be remembered, like while planning a CA storage system, it initiates or aggravates certain physiological disorders if proper carbon dioxide or oxygen concentration are not maintained. It also can make the fruits irregularity to ripening and the development of off flavors and odors that I have already explained to you, and CA can be used for both storage as well as for transportation. Now I will tell you that that what we set the goal in the beginning, that I'll just put the slide, that horticultural sector, which comprises 8.5% of the arable land and which provides a dynamic tool for the economic returns, and it has got two major activities like production and the post harvest management. And if you can check out of 30%, 30 to 30% loss, if you can have a check to about 10%, so naturally how much we can have saving. Now recent studies by McKinsey and company have estimated that this losses comes to around 25,000 crores of rupees annually. Now it is primarily due to various factors, right from the field till it reaches the consumer's table. So now our goal is that to save this huge post harvest loss, so that the per capita availability. Now this is a very, very tricky situation. We say that we have a 10% share in the global fruit and vegetable production. We are the largest producer of fruits and vegetables in India, second to China. But what is the fallacy? What is the net per capita availability? Is very poor. It is because of the huge post harvest losses. Now if you can check the post harvest losses to a certain extent, I don't say that you reduce it to zero, but from 30% you bring down to 20%, bring down to 10% on different stages. So definitely you can have a lot of savings in the national exchequer, and you can have a lot of per capita availability of the fruits and vegetables. As I told you that this is the need of the day. We should have very good facilities of the storage of fruits and vegetables in our country, and control atmosphere comes a very, very important area of rescue of one of the most important produce of India, that is that apples, pears, most of the temperate fruits are very much good give response, and they are very high value crop. They can get very high return of investment, and it can extend the period of availability. Like apples, you won't get the apples beyond November. So you can get the apples even whole throughout the year. It is possible only because of the control atmosphere technology. I give you one example. Apples which we eat normally in the market in the month of say about May and June, these apples taste like boiled potato. There is mealiness. This characteristics is known as the mealiness. This mealiness can be very well avoided by CA stored apples. Now if you store the fruits in the controlled atmosphere condition, you can see you cannot really differentiate that which fruit is freshly harvested or which fruit is stored in the CA storage. Now that's why it can help in very, very good orderly marketing and fetch a very good price for it. Now it can also stabilize the prices. Now you don't have to sell the apples whichever it is produced, because it is perishable, at a throwaway price. So naturally you can have the stabilization of the prices by storing them in the controlled atmosphere storage. It can check the spoilage, and it can, Tamil Nadu and most of the southern places, they do not grow apples, but it is only possible to get the apples to those places of the scarcity through the storage technology. So I think I have already taken my time. I will just try to tell all my friends, Please remember, these, when you are handling with a produce of fruits and vegetables, they are fresh commodities, they are live, they breathe, they release heat, they loses moisture, they get sick, they can even die. So these are the very important facts you please remember before you take any venture on the post-harvest management of fruits and vegetables. If you take into the consideration, like you have to design a particular truck, you have to design a particular packaging. So while doing that, you have to take into consideration that you are handling with a very live material. So you have to take maximum care for this. And with this, I thank you very much, Dr. Saluja. If you have any questions or any clarifications.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. You have covered very, I would say, very good, covered very well the topic. I think I will request the students, if there are questions, they may start at the beginning of the next session. Thank you, Dr. Paul, please.
Thank you very
sir.
much. Thank you very much. So you have to.